Yo, how's it going, everybody? So apparently Charles Oliveira doesn't see Ilia Topuria as a big fight. We're gonna go ahead and listen to what Charles Oliveira has to say about this because, in my honest opinion, I really do think that he is tripping a little bit. I
MMA.
think that Ilia Topuria is definitely a big fight in the lightweight division. Anybody who gets that fight is gonna get a huge freaking paycheck because of what's at stake. If Ilia Topuria does manage to get a win over somebody in the top five in the lightweight division, without a doubt, he's going to be fighting for the title next. Now, I think Charles Oliveira is just pushing for that title fight against Islam Makhachev, and we're going to go ahead and talk about Islam Makhachev's point of view later on in this video. But for now, let's go ahead and react to what Charles Oliveira had to say.
O UFC, o MMA, tem muito cara que tá, falando demais. De história no UFC, eu posso falar, eu vou fazer 15 anos. Recordista de bônus, finalização, cara que quebra recorde, sou eu. Então, olha só, eu quero lutar na Fight Week, Makhachev também, Dana, Shelby, Hunter. Vamos fazer isso acontecer. Eu quero muito essa luta, eu tô em busca desse cinturão, eu quero se tornar campeão mais uma vez, entendeu? Então eu vou escrever essa história mais uma vez. O UFC, vamos fazer isso acontecer. Essa é a luta que todo mundo quer ver. Eu tô pronto. O Makhachev tá falando demais que quer essa luta. Então com certeza vai ser uma grande guerra. Fight Week, essa é a luta que vocês querem. Essa é a luta que vocês vão ter. Dana, UFC, Sean, Hunter, vamos fazer acontecer. Só me liga. O UFC, o MMA.
So, as you guys can tell, Charles Oliveira is really pushing for that fight. He doesn't want the Ilia Topuria fight. He had this to say a couple of days ago. He said, I think there's a lot of things Charles Oliveira said in Portuguese. A lot of people are saying a lot of things, but I'm looking for a title, and today's champion is Islam Makhachev. So Topuria is a very tough guy. He deserves all the respect in the world. But right now, I don't see it as a big fight, and I'm looking for a title. Well, I have to fight Makhachev in order to win and become champion again. Look, I think that Charles Oliveira is obviously doing the very smart thing. He is strategically avoiding the fight with Ilia Topuria. I think that that fight has the potential to be a blockbuster fight without a doubt. But it doesn't make any sense for him to risk where he's at right now in the division because Charles Oliveira is ranked number 2. The only guy that's in front of him is Arman Sarukian. Arman Sarukian had his opportunity, but of course screwed things up. So the runner-up to that is Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira, in my opinion, is just conserving his position right now in the lightweight division and trying not to take a dumb risk like fighting the champion of the division below him, because there's always that possibility that, if Ilia Topuria could just knock out Charles Oliveira. Now, for Islam Makhachev's point of view, I think that he should be looking for the fight against Charles Oliveira too. I think that right now there's not that many people out there that are saying that Islam Makhachev, without a doubt, is the most dominant lightweight champion we've ever seen, because of course he has 2 title defenses against a featherweight. Of course, he had that win against Alexander Volkanovski, got the rematch, got a win again. But then the only 2 wins he has at lightweight, as a champion, is against Dustin Poirier and against, ranked number 10 Renato Moicano. So he needs to solidify his legacy a little bit more. And I feel like chasing a fight against Charles Oliveira, a former champion in the division, could be a very, very good fight for him, especially as he's chasing a bigger legacy right now than to pretty much not get that fight in right now as soon as possible. I think that Ilia Topuria, without a doubt, is probably going to face somebody like Dan Hooker, maybe somebody like Dustin Poirier. Maybe not Dustin Poirier. I think that he might retire before we ever see that fight. But definitely Ilia Topuria versus Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, or Amar Sarukian. Those are the fights that I think that definitely are going to be the biggest possibilities, unless like Michael Chandler for some reason gets picked to fight Ilia Topuria. I don't think that Ilia Topuria is going to have that fight against Charles Oliveira, in my honest opinion, at least right now. If Charles Oliveira does, so happen to beat Islam Makhachev, which in my honest opinion, I don't think that happens. I think that Islam Makhachev retains his title, then that would be a completely different story. But I don't really think that Charles Oliveira beats Islam Makhachev. I think that, if that fight gets announced, when it does get announced, because I do think that that's the next fight for Islam Makhachev, I think that Islam Makhachev is just going to go ahead and take the dub, in my honest opinion. And I really do think that he gets it done against Charles Oliveira. And that's not a diss on Charles Oliveira. I think Charles Oliveira was a great, champion. He was a great fighter, had an excellent run in the UFC, excellent run as a champion, making his way to being a champion as well. I have to give him credit for that. But in my honest opinion, I just don't think he gets it done against Islam Makhachev. So right now, as for Charles Oliveira, he's playing it very, very smart. Not trying to take that fight against Ilia Topuria, which in my opinion, I think that that's a very, very smart move. No point in getting like into pointless fights in the UFC. Some people are gonna call it ducking, call it what you will. I wouldn't necessarily call it ducking. If Ilia Topuria was in a different situation and Charles Oliveira was in a different situation and they were both kind of like looking for title eliminator type fights, then yeah, that would make a lot more sense. But Ilia Topuria, in my opinion, still needs to prove himself in the lightweight division, get a win over anybody, literally in the top 10. Get a win over literally anybody in the top 10. And I think Ilia Topuria instantly gets that title fight without a doubt. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you guys think that Charles Oliveira is ducking Ilia Topuria? Some people might agree, some people might not. It kind of depends on who you ask. If you ask me, I really don't really consider it ducking because they're not like crossing into each other's lanes yet. It's just, banter in my honest opinion. It's just like trying to push for specific fights using really weak arguments, in my honest opinion. But I just don't think that that fight's gonna be the one that happens next for Charles Oliveira. No way he fights Ilia Topuria. I think that he's next up for Islam Makhachev. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.